better? I think that's about right. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to Guitar Daily. This is my Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. on a Sunday. Just trying to dial up a track. I thought I'd start by playing along to something. Usually like to do that. Playlist, let's find this. Alright, let me see if I can find this one I was looking for a minute ago. Is it that one? Nope, nearly found it. Maybe it was that one. Yeah, see what this is like. Hey, how you doing? Cool, yeah, so that was just a little Latin track I found on YouTube. I hope everybody's doing well. Let me see if I can find, where are we? Let's find my name, turn the volume down just so I can see your comments. That would be that one there. Yeah, otherwise I can't see, it's not so... so we had a question too. Sahil, that's right. Hey Harry, how you doing? Where did I save this? I think I know where I put it. Here we go. Hussein Sahil. Hello, sir. Greetings. How do you feel the sound when accompanying a singer in a duo situation? How to make it sound fuller, especially when it's time for you to improvise? Okay, so the thing is, when you're playing with a singer, you need to work out what it is that the singer wants you to do, right? Because if you're playing with a really strong singer, it's completely different than if you're playing with a singer that's, say, a beginner, right? So a strong singer probably doesn't need you to do much, right? You could probably just play a chord like that, they'll be able to find their note and they're off, right? But someone who's not so experienced might need you to really set up the melody so they can come in strong with it, right? Played Shadow of His Smile the other day. You know, so a weaker singer might need to... Right, something like that. They may need to actually hear that note. And they may need you to go and give the top note of your chord to actually help them hit the right pitch. But a strong singer won't need you to do that at all, right? So what I would suggest is start by just evaluating where the singer is at, right? If it's someone you worked with before, then you'll know what they're comfortable with and what they're not. If it's someone you haven't worked with before, then just try and make it as easy as possible on them, right? So what is it that makes it easy as possible on them? Good rhythm, right? Chords that are simple, right? Most singers don't need you to go do chords like this. and say their melody note is here, and they're trying to find that in the middle of that chord, that's not going to help anybody. But if you go, and that's their note, and they can hear it, or maybe you'll just go, and there's their note, right? I like in duo settings to sort of sometimes play a mixture of bass lines and chords, you know? Like you could go... Right, you could do that for a verse, and then maybe when you get to the chorus it becomes... So there I just started playing more fuller chords. So something like that could set up a part. So there's a couple of things that are assumed that it's your role when you're working with a singer, right? Is you're the timekeeper, not the singer, right? Every singer I've worked with, they're not really doing... Oh, was the backing track not coming through? Guitar sounds too low. Okay. How's that? Let's turn everything up actually. Hello, hello, hello. Is that better? Is that better? Let me know in the comments. So the thing is, like, there's a couple of things. That's the same. I definitely just turned it up. I can hear it in here. That's weird. What's going on? Has a setting changed or something? Should be on my... Oh, let me just... give me 1 second, people. Okay, I have a feeling we had a technical difficulty there, and there was no, maybe my interface isn't coming through. How about that? You probably won't hear tracks though. I have a feeling my interface isn't connected for some reason, and so you're just hearing the onboard microphone, which is a bit of a shame, but... Let me know in the comments. So I just turned the amp on, so maybe the interface isn't connected. Huh, weird. Anyway, so when you're working with singers, the thing that, like, your role is to timekeep, right? So you have to be the person that's holding the time down, right? And there's a bunch of ways you can do that. You can do that via bass line. You can even just do it with simple chords, right? If you just go, so that's 1 6 2 5, and you... Any singer worth their salt will be able to follow this, right? And you just play something like that, right? That makes it as comfortable for them as possible. Now, how do you fill that out? Well, you can fill it out by connecting some bass notes. Whoa! Right? So I'm just connecting the chords via a passing bass note on all of those, right? And then the other thing you can do too is sort of create some interest with it, right? Because after a while, if you do that over and over again, it's going to get boring for anyone, right? You might go... So there, instead of going 1 6 2 5, I went 3 6 2 5, because this chord and this are essentially coming from the same place, right? One is the 3 and the 1 are both substitutable for each other, right? Right, that's one approach. And another approach might be to do something where you just kind of go... and you play more like a hits type part, right? But all that kind of stuff sets it up for the vocal, because that's really what you're there to do, right? Is set up the vocal and accompany that. And then when it comes to your turn to solo, that's your moment to play something, right? And there's a few different ways you can approach this. One of my favorites, and one that I pretty much default to a lot of the time, is just to play some stab chords. So say I have that same progression. I'm going to find it difficult to solo and hold all this down at the same time, right? So I'll do something like coming up to the solo, and I know it's around the corner and it's coming up next time round. So you see there, I went in a couple of stages. I played some hits, and then kind of played the gaps, and then I played a bit busier, because the thing is, when you're playing, essentially it becomes like solo guitar. You can play quite busier than you would in a normal kind of context, right? Because it's just you holding it down now, right? So I will, you can get busier. And then what I did was I made sure that everybody knew when we were going to come back to the top, so the singer could come back in. And I did that by just hitting the 5 chord. In this case, I played a B9 sus. Right? And I find that that's a really good way of approaching it. That you just set up the vocal so they come back in, right? I'm just going to try something. This is a wild idea. I wonder what happens if I unplug it. I wonder what happens. Got better when I did that. Did the sound get better, or did it stay the same? I wondered if maybe my interface didn't connect for some reason. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to set the singer back up so they can come in. And the other thing that I find really works well with singers is to oh, great, thanks, Eddie. Is to think about the form a lot, right? If the song's going to be intro, verse, chorus. Oh, great, excellent, glad to hear it. So let's turn that down a touch. Oh no, that should be where it is. So if it's going to be intro, right? Because you always want to have some kind of intro, right, to set up the vocal. So intro, verse, chorus, maybe a bridge, which is your solo, and then another chorus. What I try and do is my first chorus is not the same as where my second chorus is, right? My first chorus builds to here. My second chorus, I want to have even more build still, right? And then my solo is all about setting up, say, that last chorus of the song. And the third chorus of the song, that's where I start to get a lot fuller and rounder with the sound. And there's ways you can do that, right? Maybe my first chorus might be just chords, 3-note chords. My second chorus might be fuller chords like this. And maybe my third chorus, I'll start substituting some things in, things like that, just to give it a little more kick. And I found that if you're thinking about the form like that, that really helps the singer a lot. And, when you get to the end of each section, can you try to play Out Getting Ribs by King Cruel? I've never heard that song. I don't know that one. Is that something I've missed? I'd have a go at it if I knew it. Out Getting Ribs. Sounds like a country song, right? Don't know it, sorry. And the thing that singers really want is they just want to feel comfortable, right? That nobody likes feeling uncomfortable. And I remember working with a singer once, and she said to me, I didn't think guitar and vocal really worked that well together. I'm just going to make sure that's in the right place too while we're at it. She said to me, I didn't really think guitar and vocal... I'm having a technical nightmare today, aren't I, people? Where is that? She said to me, I didn't really think guitar and vocal could work too well together. She said, oh, I played a gig with this guitarist and he just played all these weird chords and I got lost in the form and then I didn't know what was going on. And, and she said, I don't know what you did, but I found it really easy to play, to sing. And really, to be honest, all I did was really simple. And we played Songbird. And that's literally all I did, just very, very simple. And then it became about her expression and my support of that, right? And I had my moments where I got to play, right? And now I could play something more complicated than that, but that's not what it needed. There's some inherent beauty in music and just simplicity. I mean, go and check out, if you haven't listened to Adam Levy, he's someone I'd highly suggest if you want to check out someone who really makes the most of every note. Now, he was Norah Jones's guitar player, but I didn't realize he did a whole lot of session work and some great, Give Me One Reason. All that stuff that Adam Levy played on that, played all those little solo lines and stuff, and that's really a masterclass in taste and simplicity, right? So there's just something beautiful about just, None of what I played then is overly complicated, and most sort of intermediate guitar players would be able to play that, something like that, right? But there's something like that that's just, it's simple, but it gets the point across, and that's kind of where I'd say to start, right? I hope that's answered your question. So I wonder if you guys are hearing tracks then, because if you weren't hearing that before, let's try this one.
My annual health check through.
Tell me if this is coming through. Can't listen to Adam Levy when he talks. That's great. Can't listen to Adam Levy when he talks. Just makes you want to have a nap. Yeah, because he talks so slowly. He does, doesn't he? He has a very soft-spoken, gentle kind of sound to his voice, and the way he speaks, which is how he plays guitar, isn't it? I'm a firm believer that people's personalities come through in their music, right? And Adam, he's soft-spoken and gentle speaking. Boom, that's how his guitar playing sounds, right? Someone who's kind of angry and aggressive, well, that's probably how their playing's going to be. Cheers, people. This is straight Coca-Cola, but that's what I felt like tonight. So I wonder if you guys are hearing this track. If I've got it all worked out, can you let me know? Is that coming through? Let's have a go with this one. Let's see if I can figure it out. So that was Besame Mucho. I have no idea why I decided to play that play that song. It just was the first one that came up, and I went, okay, let's do that one. It's a cool tune, actually. It's got some interesting things about it. You know what I mean? Coca-Cola looks like Guinness Draft. Yeah. No, it is. It's legit straight Coca-Cola. It's a Sunday night, so I thought, I don't know that I necessarily feel like drinking alcohol right now. I'm just going to have a soft drink. So grab a drink if it's morning for you. Grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever you're into. If it's evening, grab a glass of wine or a beer or a Coca-Cola like I am. And I'll play some music for you. I really like playing along to backing tracks like that, especially if they're ones that I've never played before. I've never played along to that track. And hey James, how you doing? And it's an interesting thing when you play along to a track like that you don't know, because you kind of you're playing, but you're also using your ear to sort of tell you where the harmony's going to go. Right, the harmony for that backing track I just used is completely different than how I hear that song. You know, this is how I hear it. Right, it's a little different than what they had there. Oh, thank you, Dylan. Yes, good, says good on you, Nick. Doesn't matter what you're drinking, the playing is always amazing. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's I haven't actually played guitar today at all. I went and did a fly fishing trip today. I hadn't really kind of planned to do that, but I was sort of looking. It's been raining this morning, and I sort of thought, I need to get outside, and I thought I'll go and scare some fish in the river, which is pretty much exactly what happened. Didn't catch any. I barely saw any fish at all. I saw 2 fish in the whole time I was there, but nonetheless, it got me outside into Mother Nature's arms, and that was that. I'm hoping everything's coming through good now. I might actually just turn that amp off. Give me one sec, people. So tell me people, can you still hear the guitar properly? I have a feeling my interface wasn't connecting into the phone which I'm live streaming on, which is why you weren't really hearing guitar properly and you weren't hearing any backing tracks. Oh, so great. So I unplugged it and replugged it back in. You know, I feel kind of like playing, I feel like playing some blues. We're going to play a blues. I'm going to play a tune. This is a tune that I've always liked playing. This is a Thelonious Monk tune called, what's it called? Blue Monk. Right? Should have known that. Right? Yeah. cool tune, isn't it? It's really just a simple kind of, what I like about that is just the simplicity in it. You know, Thelonious Monk was a genius, really, as far as I'm concerned. You know, wrote some of the great tunes. Right, that sort of stuff. You know, Ruby My Dear, Straight No Chaser. They're just great, you know, great songs. And definitely had his own way of playing piano. I mean, nobody really played piano like that, so it just kills me every time I hear him play. Yeah, so hopefully one day I'll be able to do some more of that on guitar, you know, and learn how to figure out how all that stuff works. I know Peter Bernstein's done a lot of stuff where he's really explored Monk's music and playing it on guitar. So Steve Cardenas, I don't know if you guys know Steve, really great New York guitar player. Spent maybe a week with Steve when he came out here. He was out here with Paul Hansen, the bassoon player, jazz bassoon. And Steve played guitar, and Steve was fantastic guitar player. What a beautiful feel, and a lovely human being too. And yeah, he'd really delved deep into Monk's music and sort of what it's all about. I got an announcement to make too. This week, I've got a plan for the Guitar Daily videos this week. What I was thinking about it, and there's this Mick Goodrem book called The Advancing Guitarist. You probably all know it. There's a really cool section in there where he talks about, you know, gives some ideas of what you can do with your time to sort of get better and what's next and stuff. And one thing he talks about is he says there's 7 modes and 7 days. And I thought, yeah, you know, and I remember working on that. Steve Kahn does have some great books out too, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Harry, for sure, no doubt. And I thought, you know, 7 days, 7 modes. So that's what I'm going to do this week. For the next week, I'm going to do a different mode each day of Guitar Daily. So Monday, we're going to be doing major scale or Ionian mode, right? Tuesday, Dorian. Wednesday, Phrygian. Lydian. And the way I always remember the order is if Dora plays like me, all is lost, right? If is Ionian, Dorian plays Phrygian. Lydian, like me is Mixolydian. So I'm going to do a different mode each day. I'm going to kind of deep dive into them a little bit and kind of discuss how modes work and sort of how I approach them, right? Because a lot of times people don't think of major scale as a mode, but you can have a modal approach to playing major scale. So yeah, so be watching out for that coming out starting tomorrow and going through for a week. Sunday's one will be Ionian, but Ionian will also coincide with the weekly live stream. So when we get to Locrian, I'll do a little bit on that, and then we'll move on to kind of answer some questions and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, so looking forward to showing that. I've got a new intro for the videos too. I made one up yesterday and put some stuff together and some flash transitions and all that kind of stuff. So it looks a little better than just that screenshot I just put over the old videos. So that's all ready to go. They've got a new intro, new outro. Outro is pretty similar to the old one. But yeah, so hopefully those judge up the videos a little bit. Any questions? Feels sloppy playing. I haven't played today, as I mentioned. And I probably should have warmed up Gregorian modes. I don't know that I know much about that kind of stuff. There's so many cool stuff too with them. When we get it, if one day I'll get into the melodic minor modes and that stuff. I've talked about Super Locrian before, but there are other stuff to do with that, and of course there's harmonic minor modes as well. It's a deep thing. Is that chair comfortable? It's an important piece of gear, the chair, you know. Yeah, this is not a comfortable chair. This is just some wooden chair that my mother had lying around the house, and I said, can I grab that chair? I need a chair for my studio. So I found a cushion, and the one thing I like about it is it has no arm things. You know, chairs that have those arm things that come here and you bang into it with your guitar or you go smack. So you can't have a chair with arms, they just don't work. This chair's about the right height. What I'm looking for is, I mean, I'm being a bit lazy today and a bit slouchy, but generally what I'm looking for is I want my legs at about a 90-degree angle. So like my leg comes off the seat like that and my foot goes down to the floor, right? I find that gives good support. You'll see with a guitar, it just kind of sits where it wants to if your leg's on the right angle. If your leg's up like that, because the seat's too low, see the guitar wants to do that. It just doesn't sit in quite the right place. So that was my only criteria with this, but it does make a huge difference having a comfortable seat. And I know people who have ended up with back issues from bad seats. So yeah. Tell me more about your right hand technique. My right hand technique is crap, to be honest. It's been something I've actually been working on a lot this year to try and get better at. I've talked about this a little bit before, but I took a lesson with this guy, Jake Wilson, really great guitar player in England. And Jake's got phenomenal technique, and we just kind of looked at what I was doing, because it's very easy to kind of fall into habits, you know, of things you do. So one thing I've been working on doing is, and it's still a work in progress, so don't take my word as the way to do it, but I've always rested my palm on my hand. You can probably see it on this guitar maybe. I don't know if you can see the pickups, but see where they're a bit worn out? There's a bit of the colours come off here, and here because of my arm being that. But one thing I talked about with Jake is he talked about where your hand goes when you do fast tremolo picking. Let's take one note. Right, somewhere like that. And look at where that angle is, and then try and apply that to notes. One thing I've been wondering too is what to do with these fingers, right? Do I do that? Do I do that? I thought, you know, for a long time I had to close my hand. You know, this sort of position to hold the pick, right? I keep my first finger pretty straight too. I know some people believe you claw it. I don't think it makes any difference. I've seen people sound great with all kinds of ways of doing stuff. Mike Marino does that with two fingers, or maybe does that. And he sounds great, you know. There's lots of different ways to do it. But one dude I checked out was Rick Graham, who's really a rock shredder, because I find the rock shredder guys are usually pretty, you know, when they're really focused in on their technique, right? Even if I don't necessarily want to play the same style as those guys. And Rick Graham was kind of doing something like this with his hand. It was sort of open. And I've noticed that Rick has his hand like that. And I saw Rob Harris also talking about that too with playing rhythm guitar, that he felt, and I could be quoting this wrong, but I remember seeing something about it with Rob saying that he felt it was a little more natural to have his hand open when you do rhythm guitar, right? So I've kind of been working on that. How hard do you squeeze the pick? Very, very light. My whole thing with all technique is I don't want to exert force. It's not force that gets you there, it's good technique, right? I remember playing with this drummer in Wellington, Jacob Randall's his name, and Jacob just has phenomenal chops, right? That dude can play ridiculously fast, like probably more so than anyone else when he wants to, right, around here. He's just got facility, right? And I was watching him one day, and he was playing real loud, like he was like smack on the snare. And you know, a lot of other drummers would be like this sort of motion. His was just like, it was like he was barely even like moving his arm to do it. But I watched his technique, and it was technique that was making it go crack, rather than like brute force. And so I'm always aware of that. Like what I'm doing with the pick is I hold it just tight enough to where it doesn't move. Which should have warmed up before we start talking about technique. I play with the pointy side of the pick, yeah, as you can probably see with how mine is worn out. I do find that, you know, the rounded side of the pick is a good thing too. You know, it has a certain flavour about it. And I know Michael Landau plays with the rounded side of the pick. lots of great players. Tom Bukovac does as well. What I find for me is it's all a personal thing, right? For me, what I need is clarity, not warmth. For me, my sound tends to be overly warm and sometimes it lacks in a bit of cut, right? So I find that for me, I need the clarity of the point. But these aren't overly pointy anyway, these picks. These are some that I had made. I don't know if you can see that. They're basically Dunlop 1.14, I think. So they have, but they're quite a soft material. They have a little bit of flex, even though they're, but I've gone through the eternal quest for picks and I've tried. Let's have a look at some others here. What else have we got? There's something to be said for thin picks. This one here is a D'Andrea Classic 0.71. I find the thinner picks like this really good for rhythm guitar. The only thing I find with these thinner picks like this, 0.71, is that they're just not that great for playing lead stuff. For a long time I used the Jazz 3s, the XL version of the Jazz 3s. I did try this one recently, which is the smaller version of the Jazz 3, but made by Nile Pro, USA made. It's got a big D on it, could be Dunlop as well. 1.4. These ones here I like. As I said, I got these made. These were made by an Australian company called Custom Guitar Picks, and they worked out really cheap and you can get your thing. No, I don't really hybrid pick. I do sweet pick a little bit, but more from like a jazz point of view. That was me picking all the notes as well. It's more that, like Kenny Burrell would do. I remember hearing him doing some sweep. It's more that sort of stuff than actually like Malmsteen, 6-string arpeggio sweeps and this sort of stuff is not really my thing. So yeah, but these are 1.14. I find that's like the sweet spot between good for rhythm as well as good for lead. I want one pick. I don't want to change picks all the time. I did recently try the Dunlop. I've tried everything, pretty much. I did recently try the Dunlop Prime Tone, I think they're called, or something. I got them in the wrong thickness. I got them 0.7. I'm actually going to try the 1mm. I really like the grip on those. At first it feels like sandpaper in your hand. You play it and it feels very rough against your it's very textured. But I found that, when you're on a gig and your fingers start to sweat, they don't move around. And one thing I like about those picks is the material that they're made of seems to glide over the string really well, and they're hand beveled on the edge. They've actually signed by someone. They're quite expensive. They're about 3 for $15, whereas these I think work out you get 3 for $1 or something like that if you because you buy them in bulk. But I do like those. So yeah, my right hand technique is evolving, and at the moment I'm trying to get it to lift. And of course there's legato playing, which is always, I find, easier. Finally I'd warmed up. See, I can't pick that as fast. I'm not really I would never say my picking is like, Leon Todd or someone like that, that legend. His picking is great. I've always kind of done a hybrid of, I don't hybrid pick as in picking fingers. I've never been good at that. But I do a hybrid of, say, alternate picking, which is pretty much what I do 85% of the time. And then I do hammer on and pull off, legato type playing in the mix of that as well. I find that tends to, the times I do tend to use legato playing is when I want to sound more like a horn. sort of very jazz kind of stuff when I play rock stuff. What about your pick slant? So my pick, I pretty much keep it straight with the strings. And the reason I do that is, there's that George Benson thing of, getting your pick turned around or whatever. For me, it's quite easy to make the notes sound different down or up, right? Upstroke always sounds different anyway. If I go down, they always sound different. But the reason I keep my pick very straight with the strings is that I want to get them as even as possible. Even then I can hear the upstroke is still slightly different. Just the nature of the beast. Right? To me, evenness should be the goal, right? I can always make it uneven. I can always accent certain notes and bring them out when I want to, make a point of something. But generally, to play even is the harder thing, right? So that's why I keep my pick very straight with the string. Unless it's for a special effect. Sometimes I'll do... like that. You see there, I was like deliberately kind of raking across the string. The other thing I'm always doing is trying to remain really relaxed. Like I noticed then when I played that fast a bit, I felt myself tense up in my shoulder. It's funny what you do when you're tense, isn't it? It's always your shoulder or your jaw. You kind of go like that with your teeth, or you kind of, tense up in here. So I'm always aware that when I'm playing anything fast, to try and just be as relaxed as possible. Always interested in tunes like that to try and see how do I play all of the parts put together. I've had to play that tune a few times where there's only one guitar, right? And so I've had to go and try and sort of cover up both guitar parts and stuff like that. And I always find that really a fascinating thing to do. Like, how do I get to do both parts? Any more questions? I got a funny story about that song. I used to teach at this private boys' school many years ago, 25 years ago, and I had this student. He was a ripping young guitar player, and I remember meeting his father, and his father said to me, "Oh, I don't particularly think music is a good thing. It seems like a waste of people's time, and it's going to go nowhere, and it's a thing for no hopers." And I was like, "Oh, is that right?" And I was like, here I am, a professional musician, and this is the way this arrogant asshole's talking to me. Because clearly he was some kind of business guy who thought he was a big shot or whatever. I was like, whatever, man, have your opinion. Anyway, his kid showed him how to play Purple Rain, right? And he came and he played Purple Rain, and this kid like launched into it, all that stuff. He was like ripping on that solo, he kind of let rip on it. And I looked over at his father, and there's tears running down his father's face, and I was like, gotcha. And then it's funny, like about a week later, the kid comes into his guitar lesson, and he goes, "Look at my new guitar." And he had like a $7,000 or $8,000 Paul Reed Smith that his dad had gone and bought him. And I was like, "Oh, so music's just for losers, is it?" And I was like, gotcha. Yeah, it's funny, the whole chorus thing, isn't it? Man, I got a whole heap of stories like that I could tell you guys. I never used to really particularly like chorus. I used to find chorus was a little bit kind of 80s, 90s sounding. And also for me too, I sort of felt with chorus it was a little bit... made guitar sound more like a keyboard, right? But now I'm into it now, right? Especially with that like... What do you think about, so Harry says, what do you think about AI and writing music? I think AI is just another technology that, do you remember when drum machines came out? That everyone said, wow, these drum machines are amazing, and, they're going to put drummers out of work. Did it. People still want drummers. People still use drum machines. I think AI is going to be in a similar kind of way to Photoshop. You know how you see an image of someone and you go, oh, that's been photoshopped, right? We all know it when we see it. We go, oh, it's photoshopped. Even like little kids know that now because they've grown up with that. And I think we're going to find it's the same thing with AI. We'll be able to spot it a mile away. I mean, it might be a little bit convincing at the moment, and maybe it's convincing for people with no ears or no, because it's all new, right? But there'll be characteristics of AI that'll become super obvious to people over time. 10 years from now, people will say, this is a thing that AI does, and this is a thing that AI does. I do think it is going to put some people out of work. I think some musicians are going to lose work out of AI. I think in every industry, particularly like advertising, I've played on a bunch of jingles over the years, and, sometimes they want to record a Rolling Stones song, but they can't afford to use the Rolling Stones actual version of the song because that might cost them like $200,000. So what they do is they get a license to re-record it, to record the Rolling Stones song. So I'll come in and play some guitar parts. They'll get a bass player and a drummer and whatever, and then they change it a little bit so it's not exactly the same. Maybe pitch the vocal down a third, whatever. Make it different enough so that they can just play a licensing rather than a royalty fee, and that's how they get around it. And then, whereas I think what's going to happen with AI is they'll go say to AI, write a Rolling Stones sounding song that sounds like Satisfaction or something like that, and I think that kind of thing is going to take over. So really, I think where AI is going to dominate, and this is going to be the same in the writing world, in the film world, in music, in everything, in the corporate world, all that is going to be in the stuff that's not particularly creative. I use AI. I'm not scared of it, right? If I have to write a blurb for a gig and someone says, can you write me a blurb real quick? I'm like, I need 2 sentences describing the band. I go to Chat GPT and I type in a couple of words and boom, it spits it out. And hey, it writes something way better than I would ever have written. Cheers, everybody. Because English was not my top subject. My focus at school was mostly music, right? It's all I really cared about. I did well at maths. We say maths, Americans say math. I understand that. But so if you hear me say maths, that's why. It's a very Kiwi thing, Australian, British. So I did well at maths. I did okay at English, but it wasn't particularly my thing. So AI is going to be a part of that, but it is here to stay. It is a new technology that's going to take a while to get in. I think the lawmakers are going to be really crappy at this, to be honest. The lawmakers haven't kept up with copyright at all, right? If you think about what Napster did when that came around, and then the whole online space, and then, the way they've dealt with Spotify. Personally, I hate Spotify. If you really want to know my take on that. I think Spotify is amazing for the end user, the person listening. They can get any music they want within reason, pretty much any music they want, and they can have it straight away. And I mean, that level of access would have been amazing when I was learning to play, right? But it's crap for the artists. Nobody makes money on Spotify, right? They just don't. People think they do, and you hear about the occasional success story. Maybe Taylor Swift does, but like your 0.1% of the very top make money out of it, but they make less money than they used to make in the old model, right? I think there are some things better about Spotify. Or not Spotify itself. I don't like Spotify. I don't like the way they particularly act. Right, Spotify lobbies governments to pay even less than they do now, and that kind of gets under my skin a bit. I also don't like the way that CEO Daniel Ek kind of goes about things. He drops his foot in it all the time. Like the other day, saying that it basically costs nothing to create music. He's a jerk. Just shows he doesn't really know what he's talking about, right? And the fact he even called music content. I hate the word content. I don't consider myself a content creator. I play music. That's what I do, right? So I think AI in that kind of space is going to be an interesting thing. Spotify's already using it, apparently. I saw in that Rick Beato video that Charlie Music was talking about. Yeah, about Rick's take on AI, especially the one with Ted Goya. I don't know if you all saw that one. I thought that was really interesting. That Ted Goya was saying that Spotify has now created AI music, and they're putting it in their top playlists, right? So you might have a playlist of 15 songs, they'll bang their song right in the middle. You don't really particularly notice it because you've heard some other songs, and then this one comes in, it's in the same flavor. So many people are hearing these things, and they're made up music with made up people, and the revenue from that now, instead of going to someone else, is going straight back into Spotify's back pocket. And that's kind of very underhanded kind of stuff. Spotify is the Amazon of music. Yeah, I think so. Amazon's here a little bit in New Zealand, but not really. We don't have Amazon Prime like you have in the UK or in the US, next day delivery, all that sort of stuff. We have Amazon Prime TV, but that's about as far as it goes with it. So people do use Amazon here, but not in a big way. Whereas I have friends in the UK who, do everything on Amazon. They order their laundry detergent and their hair shampoo and their everything, Their underwear, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so anyway, AI is an interesting thing. It'd be interesting to see where it is. I don't think people need to fear these sort of technologies. I think live your life, do your thing. It's going to be what it's going to be, all right? Worry about the things you can control. Think about that sound just there. For me, that sort of sound is really essential to have a volume pedal. Look, if I turn my microphone off. You can hear the volume pedal just adds so much more expression to that sort of playing. So, any more quick questions before I have to wrap this up? It's a Sunday evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. albums, artists you would recommend to learn more about chord melodies. Sure. One of my favorites for playing chord melody stuff is Bruce Foreman. If you don't know Bruce Foreman, Bruce is a good friend, and he is one of the baddest dudes on the planet when it comes to playing chord melody. If you go to Instagram, know what the hell the dog's barking about. Maybe somebody's at the door and he's going, hello, let them in. He doesn't really get scared. He's not like a guard dog barking. He's like, he gets excited when people come to the door and he starts going, rah, rah. That's probably what that is, so sorry about that. Bruce Foreman, one of the greatest bebop jazz guitar players on the planet, and the way he plays chord melody is second to none. I remember Bruce telling me that he'd done a lot of stuff of checking out like Oscar Peterson and people like that and trying to play that stuff on guitar, and that's what I hear, you know, someone who's really checked out the music. So go and check out his Instagram, because Bruce, I think he's been doing everyday 1-minute videos of playing a whole lot of chord melody stuff, and it's pretty much as good as it gets. Jim Hall is another one. I really like the way he plays chord melody. Schofield too. I think Sco has a real unique way of playing chord melody when he does. You know, especially the stuff where he goes. You know, where it's sort of like counterpoint, almost, you know. Yeah, me too. I love Jim Hall. I think Jim Hall's fantastic, you know. Just such a great player. I've never been crazy about Jim Hall's sound. Sometimes I just find it's just too muddy for my liking. I wish it was a little clearer, but he's great. What about Chuck Loeb? He's one of my all-time faves. Yeah, Chuck Loeb was an amazing guitar player. Rest in peace, Chuck. I remember getting an email from Chuck Loeb one time, which was a bit of a thing. I was like, wow, okay. We did a tour with Eric Marienthal, the great saxophone player, and he sent through the charts. And when he did, he sent PDFs, and they were sent via Chuck Loeb's Dropbox, because I guess Eric didn't have one or whatever it was. This is a while ago, so it's probably early days of that stuff. So I got this email from Chuck Loeb, which was you know, a link to a Dropbox with some PDFs for the charts that we were going to do for that tour. I remember it was crazy. I was like tempted to write back and just tell him how much I dig his playing. Yeah, amazing guitar player. Any other questions? Oh, this Ted guy is brilliant. Yeah, I totally agree. Ted Goya is a heavy dude. He said it was the same people back in 1800s. Too much technology took over, and then creative people did rise to the pit top. Yeah, I can't help but think that with all this stuff that's going on, that there's going to be, it's almost going to have spring back, and that people are going to crave real music again. Do you know what I mean? I think if you look at what's happening with, like, say, the Spotify top list, I saw Rick Beato's video about that. They were all throwback stuff to like 80s or 90s. People doing it now, but in a style that was back, right? Sort of throwback. Like The Weeknd was #1, and I mean, his stuff sounds like 80s and 90s synth pop, doesn't it? And then Dua Lipa sounds like disco. So that's kind of almost like throwback. And I think there's going to be more of that. Like, people are going to crave like real music by real people. Even more so when the more of this kind of artificial crap just starts getting pushed out. But if you think about the things, I was thinking about this today too with Hollywood movies, right? You have these Hollywood movies that are, you know, basic. Some of them, they just rehash ideas that have been before, right? They see a movie that's successful and they basically do a repeat of one. I watched one the other night that was almost an exact rip-off of another movie, and I just thought, why, right? Well, the reason they do it is, and it's the same thing that happens with a lot of songwriters too, right? Is they see what's successful and then they try and reproduce that to make a quick buck. Well, you know, that's kind of fine, but I think that the things that really do well in this world are the things that are original, right? That's the things that really break through. The things that are original and find a way to kind of touch people in a way that kind of draws emotion out of those people that it touches. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that that's kind of what people are going to be craving. I think they're going to be craving more and more real music by real people of an original variety, because there'll be just so much more of the same old crap artificially done with AI, probably. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm sorry about the technical issues to start with. I don't know why the sound wasn't coming through properly. I really like this guitar too. There's just something about this thing, and it's an interesting thing. I just worked out the other day that it was Joel, you're here. That this guitar, I think it has a 7 1/4 radius to a 9 1/2. So that's really kind of almost like a Fender, isn't it? You know, it's quite rounded at this point. You know, kind of big frets. But it doesn't feel like a Fender. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everyone being here, and I will see you tomorrow when we start the 7 days, 7 modes. So yeah, that'll be coming out tomorrow, starting with major scale mode for 7 days, and we will be discussing modes. I'm playing at the Capital Blues Club on Friday for anyone in Wellington with my band, and I've got 2 great singers. I've got Greer Perinara and I've got Brannigan Carr. So killer male vocal, killer female vocal, both great singers, great musicians, and I've got the usual band of Richard Tierney, Elliot, and Leo. So if you're in Wellington, do come and hear us. I'll try and get some video if I can get that. I'll do them as Guitar Daily bonuses on my little GoPro thing. I'll play you out with something. Don't know what I'm going to play. I'm just going to start improvising. Thank you. Yes, Joel, it's the FM9 direct, straight in via my interface into my phone. And that is a Fender Vibrato Lux model in the FM9 and a BB preamp in front of it. I'm on the bridge pickup and I just turned the volume control down a bit. Try and get it to clean up and get some of those overtones. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. I really appreciate you being here and everybody's support for what I'm doing with this Guitar Daily thing. I've been really enjoying doing it, and yeah, I'll keep doing it as long as people want to watch. I don't care about numbers. I've never cared about numbers. I care about you all getting something from this, and that's why I do it. So thank you very much for watching, and if you like the stuff, share it as always. Give it a like. Subscribe, all that kind of stuff really helps. See you tomorrow with the 7 days, 7 modes. Cheers.